Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day as we talk about the first half in review, the mobile threat landscape in 2022. A couple housekeeping notes. This presentation is recorded. So if you, for some reason, need to drop a little early or you'd like to share it with your boss, your friends, send it to your parents, whatever it is, you're welcome to do that, but you'll receive a copy of the recording in email following the presentation. If you have any questions for me throughout the presentation, go ahead and throw them into the questions chat. I will answer them as best as I can. If I don't know the answer, and I don't know them all, I will figure out a way to follow up with you. We'll make sure that happens. We'll either put the answer in the follow-up email or throw it on social, or if I actually get your contact information, I can send it out to you that way. Hope that helps. My name is Richard Malik. I am the Director of Threat Reporting here at Zimperium. My job is to work on and focus on all the good threats in the world. That's my pretty little picture right there in the middle, so you know what I look like. If you ever see me at a conference, ever see me at RSA, Black Hat, any of those, please come up and say hi. I'm always willing to talk about the threats in the security world as we've been doing it. I've been doing this for about 12 years now. Been in the security space, and this is what I love to do, is to share the news, share the world of what is going on. It wouldn't be a presentation that I'm giving if I didn't start with a quote. Now, this quote actually we used in our recent mobile banking heist report that was recently published, and I'm sure that will be in a follow-up email as well as a link to it. But there's just more targets out there for bank robbers to hit. Now, Frank Boach of the FBI said this in 2006 as Chicago was experiencing a massive rise in bank robberies, physical bank robberies. But I feel that this quote is still very relevant today because our mobile devices have become ATMs of our lives. We rely on them for personal and business information. We can access our personal and work email. Our credit cards are in here. Our password storage is in here. We are able to live with this phone without a wallet in some cases. We're able to be out and about. There's digital IDs now being put onto these devices that fit into our pocket. Now, the mobile device is incredibly powerful as well. We've all heard the stat that a modern iPhone is thousands times more powerful than all the computers that took Apollo astronauts to the moon. And that's very, very true. And yet we relegate these down to disposable items. We don't often worry about it if something was to get lost or something was to happen to them. But we here at Imperium want that mindset to change. COVID has changed our approach, the enterprise world approach to mobile data access. And we've all experienced this as we started working remote and distributed, started relying on the mobile device in order to get access to our services, do multi-factor authentication, access our email, chat, data files, be able to work on the go. It has become even more and more critical that we have these smartphones in our pocket. But if we start looking at the data that these phones have access to as the money, the data itself is the money. That's what we've invested in. That's what we rely on. And the phone itself is the ATM. Then why are we, as the users or the enterprises, not applying the same security mindset that we do with our traditional endpoints? Even as I look at my phone right now and I look at my laptop, there's not much of a difference. They both have a terabyte of hard drive space. They both have 8 gigs of RAM, 4K monitor on them. They both can connect to the internet. I could do just about my whole job on my mobile device as I can do on the laptop. The major difference is that the laptop isn't always connected, whereas my mobile device is. Now, there's also some caveats in there on how applications are stored in containers. We're not going to get into that. A little bit more technical than I'd like to get on this one. But I really want us to start thinking about the data that is on our mobile device as money. We have access to that money no matter where we are in the world, like an ATM. And because there are more mobile devices out there, more applications, There's just more opportunities for the hackers, the malicious actors out there to target. And mobile is the new endpoint. We recently surveyed a group of IT leaders. What is the following category of endpoint represents the weakest security in your organizations? And 44% of them reported mobile devices. Now, this survey is through Pulse, which is a Gartner company, so you can know the distinguishedness of that organization. And where the IT leaders and the security leaders are saying mobile devices have the weakest security, the attackers know this as well. This is recent news. Chinese hackers distribute backdoored Web3 wallets for iOS and Android users, attacking crypto wallets. Apple rushing to patch 2 0 days, threatening iOS and macOS users. Brata, an older piece of mobile Trojans, gaining advanced mobile threat capabilities. It's what we have seen with Brata recently has been absolutely incredible. Its capabilities have been very advanced for its space, and it is targeting mobile devices on a global scale. We'll get into the capabilities here in a little bit. Now, if you read our 2022 Global Mobile Threat Report, you saw that a major focus of what we talked about was exploited in the wild mobile 0 days. Now, I'm going to put the caveat on this. What this chart is tracking is 0-day vulnerabilities used in real life attacks in the wild before they are revealed to the world. So, true 0-day report. Now, this information comes from Google's Project Zero. Maddie Stone and her team over there are incredible providing this data out there for anyone in the research side to access. They do not gatekeep it. And we saw in 2021 a massive spike from the 3 to 4s, 2019, 2020, 1 in 10 0 days being mobile specific, to 1 in 3. Now, this year, we haven't seen as many in quantity 0 days, but we're still seeing 1 in 3 0 days being mobile specific. 5 of the 15 that have been revealed so far are mobile specific. The malicious actors in the world are very well aware that the mobile device is a low priority for many enterprises, for many users, from the application to the endpoint. And because of that, they are targeting these devices. They are looking for ways in to get the data. Now, there's a space in this that we've rarely talked about that I really want everyone to start thinking about as well. We've talked about how your data is your money. But what about the application? We quickly download an application. It could be a game. It could be a SaaS-based tool. It could be whatever. Now, in traditional endpoint space, when a CVE is released, you have the CVSS scores. You're told, hey, you need to patch your device, patch your endpoint. And you don't worry about that because you normally have a mobile device or a endpoint management service or a vulnerability management service taking care of that. But with the likes of BYOD and corporate owned, unless you have an MDM where you're enforcing policies, some of these enterprise connected devices may have out of date applications on here. So I pulled the list of the CVEs that have been impacting both Apple and iOS from the last year, from the last 6 months. I highlighted a few that were interesting to me, enterprise focused. And the top on the Android side, we have the first one, which is a Google Chrome 0 day, or not 0 day, Google Chrome vulnerability that impacts exploit heap corruption via a crafted HTML page. What does it say? It's a malicious website that could redirect a user and trick them into interacting with something that is not secure. You have incorrect access control for local attackers on own cloud. So if your service, if your enterprise is using own cloud to manage cloud-based access because you don't trust, the likes of OneDrive or Google or whatever, this potentially could give access to it. Microsoft OneDrive for Android has a security feature bypass vulnerability. Now, how many of your enterprises out there are using Microsoft OneDrive for all their cloud-based data storage? Another one that stood out to me was Safe Browser for Android. When users clicked on a specifically malicious web page, they were checked for a short period to think that the website was valid and was secure. Again, phishing. And we see this in the likes of phishing. Now, these 4 that I'm talking about right here, and plus the other ones I'm going to talk about on the iOS side, These are all preventable in this mindset of if you have a mobile threat defense, if you have security controls installed on the mobile device, it prevents the application that would be targeting these apps from actually working. Now, over here on iOS side, one that really stood out to us in the security space was 28345 Signal app allowing for URL spoofing through legitimate looking links, but it could be abused through graphics and other ending nomenclatures. You could put .jpeg or whatever, and it would allow for a remote I'm sorry, I have a cold, so it's hard for me to say this. Allows a remote unauthenticated attacker to send legitimate looking links comparing his website. So it's another phishing attack through Signal. Microsoft Intune Portal, iOS security feature bypass vulnerability. That's bypassing the actual core security features within the iOS device. As well, with that, Devolution's Password Hub for iOS allows access to the application because of authentication bypass, as well as gatekeeper checks being bypassed with a CVE. This is massive. Now, when was the last time you actually thought about the applications installed on your endpoint as programs, as patchable programs, as programs that needed to have these updates, that needed to be forced to these updates? And then if you can't control that, say you have BYODs and connected into your network, how do you protect these applications from user downloading a malicious application that could take care of or target one of these vulnerabilities? A vulnerability on an application is just a key waiting to be turned. It's access to the kingdom. And it's benign until someone figures it out or uses it. But it also relies on the fact that we are always updating. We are always accepting that we are going to get the new application. And as we all know, that doesn't always happen. So in the space of malware and Trojans in the world, there's one news that came out recently from Europol. They took down Flubot. Flubot spyware. It's more of a Trojan, but I can see why it's categorized as a spyware, infecting Android phones. And the day after it was taken down, we got word of Malibot, another advanced version of a mobile Trojan, attacking and targeting mobile banking applications around the world. One thing that we have to think about is when one falls, another one will rise. Flubot is not going to go away. The source code for Flubot exists. Another perpetrator can take it, spin up a new command and control server in the country of their choice, start deploying it out through an application that they've modified or compromised and sending it out. So Flubot, at least this version is gone, but it will be back because they always come back. I spoke about Brata a little bit earlier. Brata made a resurgence. Originally, Brata was Brazilian Android Trojan, hence the name. They were not very exciting names for these sometimes. But Brata originally just targeted Brazilian-focused mobile banks on Android space, and it would target the mobile bank, get the credentials of the victim, and to try to steal their money, and actually steal their money from their financial assets. But the newest version that appeared this year started targeting banks on an international scale, and that international focus attack allowed it to expand its reach, expand the amount of money that was able to access to. But they also built in an incredible feature. And I say incredible because it is one of the more advanced features we've seen in a mobile banking Trojan. After a successful attack, it would factory reset and wipe the phone, covering its tracks. Malicious actors are finding new ways to be malicious, to cover their tracks, to apply advanced security or advanced exploits to their malware. I want to apply this back to the mindset of what happened when WannaCry hit. There's a little story about WannaCry that a lot of people don't know, but the first version of WannaCry only infected about 150 endpoints. It was I think it was a hospital out of India. But it wasn't until the shadow brokers released zero-day exploits, Eternal Blue and Double Pulsar, to the world that they were able to take these ingredients, this code, these exploits, and apply them to WannaCry. And that's when WannaCry blew up. Now, some will say that WannaCry was more successful than they were prepared for because there's a lot of reports of people never getting their data back after making the payments. But it was big news. It was on the cover of Newsweek, USA Today, front page of London Times as it took down the NHS. And this is to show that when one falls, another one will rise because the code is out there. The proof of concepts are out there. The proof of concepts for ransomware, the proof of concepts for these kinds of attacks do exist in the mobile space. And just as I showed you a couple slides back with the zero-day vulnerabilities used in real-life attacks against mobile devices, the malicious actors are working towards it. They are developing brand new threats. And the mobile threats are always evolving. This is a slide that we made up from the data from our banking Trojan report. Again, I recommend reading it. I might be a little biased, though. I did help write it. We tracked back banking Trojans that are still active from 2017 to today. And it shows that they are spread around the world on a global scale. 2016, Exobot, Octo, coming out into the world. 2018, Beyond Leon, EventBot, Medusa, T-Bot, Cabassus, Coper, Flubot, and then this last year, Xenomorph and SharkBot. And what you see here with the little dots on the map are the command and control servers, where all the data is being sent back to, at least for the most recent versions. And I say that because just as with Flubot, yes, was taken down. That version was taken down. But it will appear there will be another command and control server that will pop up. And it will be out of a country that, the malicious actors are able to get the data and the access and the support from. Now, this is not to say that that country is at fault. It's just where the server is hosted. In a lot of cases, when organizations like Imperium do discover this research, we're able to reach out to the host and let them know, hey, you're hosting some malicious actions or some malicious software, and they will take them down. That's part of our job. But as what I'm trying to show here is that malware is always evolving. And since 2017, they've been going after the financial assets, literal financial assets of mobile device users. Exobot is still making an appearance today. It comes back renamed as Octobot this year. It resurged after 5 years. Why? Because it's still effective. Users are still clicking on links. They're still trusting mobile applications that they're downloading from sideloaded places or phishing websites. They're not approaching their mobile devices with a security mindset. Now, there's a quote that one of my security researchers said. He said, in the day and age of BYOD, there is no such thing as a consumer-grade threat. Now, right now, I'm talking about threats to consumers, to consumer banks. But a lot of these banking Trojans are stealing credentials. They're stealing passwords. Some of the more advanced ones are stealing two-factor authentication codes. It would not be very difficult for us to imagine that some of those passwords and codes are being used on enterprise-grade systems. And with a successful mobile banking Trojan attack, somebody could and probably has and will target an enterprise with that data. Log in, unauthenticated login, because they were able to steal it from somebody that's reusing passwords when they shouldn't be. I want to focus on a couple of them. Exobot, of course, is discovered in 2017, spread via SMS and social engineering, posing as very popular apps. Now, the latest version, Octo, scans for and disables localized antivirus. And so what that means is it's mainly looking for the Google provided security services. It's turning off some of that protection that's built into Android itself. It does not disable the third-party security services like us and some of our competitors. But it's also monitoring the processes to apply an overlay attack when targeting banking apps in use. Essentially, it is looking and watching these banking apps And we see here on the right what banking apps it's actually targeting, these financial apps. We're seeing cryptocurrency apps, massively targeted. Payment apps, Cash App, for example. BBVA Spain, Barclays, QNB, I'm not even going to try to say it, Finance Bank. From Turkey to Argentina to the United Kingdom to the United States, Malta, these are being targeted. Now, this is considered a smaller attack because it's not targeting as many banking apps as, say, T-Bot targeting over 430. But with the capabilities that it has been advanced to, that have been built into the latest versions, it's effective. It's effective at draining what's left of people's cryptocurrency accounts or transferring money from the existing financial investments into other accounts. It gets very concerning. Sharkbot, one of the most recent ones to come out, spread through Google Play Store. It was discovered through the Google Play Store and removed. It's not targeting as many right now, but it was one of the more novel approaches to the mobile banking Trojan. And it could bypass multi-factor authentication. It would also respond to messages within chat services, Facebook and WhatsApp, to further spread, using the victim's device to continue the spread of its malware. Now, its main target was crypto and money transfer apps. And what would happen is if somebody was typing in an account number of somebody they wanted to transfer money to, it would quickly replace that number with their own, drain that person's account, and then allow it to go on. Now, the victim, of course, wouldn't know that they didn't transfer the money until someone called them up and said, "Hey, where's my money?" What's even more appealing to this for the malicious actors, they embedded an anti-delete feature, but it can delete other apps within the application, within the endpoint. So it would have the ability to scan and say, "Hey, this app might get in the way, so I'm going to delete it." It's not just banking Trojans that are on the rise. Last year was the year of the resurgence of Pegasus. Amnesty International released out a massive report showing the NSO group targeting NSO group's software being used to target 50,000 journalists, peacekeepers, politicians on a global scale. They couldn't tell you who was using the software, but that was the big news. We're still seeing it today. We're still seeing cell phones of Spain's top officials also hacked by Israeli spyware, that is Pegasus. But we're seeing other spyware starting to be used. Android spyware targeting Facebook credentials installed by over 100,000 users. That's March of this year. The Kazakhstan government using spyware against protesters, against their own people. That came out last week. Greek journalists targeted by Predator spyware. Predator is brand new, April of this year. Fake Android apps containing face stealer spyware, so get past your Face ID. New Russian-linked Android spyware takes control of camera and mics. And then Hermit, recently discovered last week, powerful mobile spyware used by governments on a global scale to target unknown victims. So not only is this mobile device that you're carrying around in your pocket an ATM to your life, all your data, all your corporate data, but it's also a massive tracking device. And with spyware installed, somebody else is able to get the information from you without you knowing. That's a big concern. We need to start approaching our mobile devices with a security mindset, especially as they start integrating and connecting into the enterprise systems that we use every single day to make our business work. Spyware is going to continue to rise. There's no two ways about it. As long as we carry the mobile devices in our pockets, we rely on them, and we do not apply security mindsets with advanced mobile security solutions, be it us, be it anyone else. If we're not applying security to these devices, we are leaving ourselves at risk. So let's get into some data that we've seen recently. I've presented this map before, a likeness of this map. This is an updated version of this map. So during the Tokyo Olympics, we watched 9 weeks out and 9 weeks prior and 9 weeks after the Olympics to see what was happening. And then we just revisited for the last 6 months to see how has it changed. And one big thing that it has not changed is the danger zones encountered. We see these purple dots lining up along what is actually the train routes as people are riding the subway systems and the trains in and out of Tokyo. Mass transit is easily targeted by danger zones. Now, danger zones can be qualified as a malicious network, no malicious network. There's a massive amount of categories that fit under danger zones. But the biggest surprise to me was the number of malware detected in the space. Now, pre-Olympics, the blue did not exist. We did not see a lot of blue. What we saw was a lot of scanning. We saw a lot of man in the middle spaces. We saw a lot of danger zones. We saw people being spied on. We saw people doing reconnaissance against mobile devices. Now we're seeing those mobile devices encountering malware, encountering more man-in-the-middle attacks, and rogue access points are even on the rise. Not as much traffic manipulation in this one, but malicious websites encountered. We're seeing that. But every single region is different. The mobile threats that work in one region may not work in another, based on consumer protection laws, based on how networks work, based on the target, based on who is targeting them. Take this map of San Francisco from the last 6 months. Around the Bay Area, around all the tech hubs, we see a lot of scanning going on. We see a lot of scanning going on in the central business districts, over in Oakland and downtown Oakland. We see it down in San Jose, to the Bay Area, around the airports. We're seeing man-in-the-middle attacks everywhere, all over the area. And then malware detected on such a massive scale. This is one of the tech centers of the world, and there is malware detected everywhere. Going over to Singapore, man-in-the-middle and malware attacks, but we see a lot of the rise of danger zones as well. We see it around the airports. We see it around some of the transit hubs in the CBD here in the middle. And then on the outskirts, malware detected. People are coming into work. They're commuting in. They're going back home. These are the suburbs. These are some of the places that people live within Singapore. And their mobile devices are taking the compromises, taking the threats with them wherever they go. What about London? London, I thought this was interesting. London and its outskirts. We're seeing man in the middle, but we see a lot of scans. We don't know why we're seeing scans, but usually when we see a scan, what happens afterwards is a lot more attacks. They're doing reconnaissance. What does the attack surface look like for our potential victims? Where can we get in? And these scans are very valuable to an attacker. Malicious actors use this information to deliver malware to the victim, to deliver attacks. Man-in-the-middles are very common ways to get in through compromised networks. But every single region is different. And so as we continue to travel more, and we think about this mobile device as it's connected to networks here and there, what are we introducing into our system? What threats are we introducing into our corporate data systems? So that's it on the data. Just want to quickly go over what we do if you've never heard of us. As Imperium, we secure mobile. From the endpoint to the application, we are here to provide mobile security solutions for your organization. We are an enterprise-focused mobile security company. We provide mobile threat defense, that's antivirus in layman's terms, for your mobile devices, iOS, Android, Chrome OS. With that, we can detect with machine learning on the device, as well as cloud-based lookups for more advanced threats. If an application is risky or a threat, we can detect malicious phishing links, malicious websites, ad networks, malicious networks, man-in-the-middle attacks. We're looking at over 70 categories of threats targeting the mobile device from the endpoint side. We deliver all this information up into Z Console, which is where you, the enterprise, would be able to manage this. We're privacy focused as well. We do not scan people's devices for their information. It's all anonymized. We're not looking at messages and text messages and emails for information. We're not collecting that. The only way that we detect if a phishing link is active is if someone clicks on it. So when I provide phishing data, that means people are clicking on phishing links, and we'll prevent the access to that phishing site. And on the other side of that, we have mobile application security as part of our mobile protection 360 system. Mobile application protection, or MAPS as it is a suite of products from the development stage all the way to deployment that we're able to step into an organization and help them apply a security mindset to their application itself. We want your application to be secure, whether it be the APIs, the keys, the code, or even runtime detection, advanced runtime security detection built within the application. If you're deploying out a large scale financial application to the world, you need to make sure that that device is not compromised and stealing data, stealing financial assets from your customer, or compromising your application, finding your APIs, finding your keys. We have the most advanced suite of mobile applications security products in the space. And all of that feeds into the threat research and services side. That's the team that I work with. And that's where the data that we presented today is coming from. We're always monitoring, we're always learning, we're always building to keep your mobile devices secure from application to endpoint. Because remember, the day and age of BYOD, there is no such thing as a consumer grade threat. I thank everybody so much for taking some time to spend with me today. I don't have any questions in there. I'll leave this up for one more minute to see if any other questions pop in. Be happy to answer them. If not, do not hesitate to reach out to us on LinkedIn, Twitter. I don't think we have Facebook. Or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn anytime, and I'd be happy to answer the questions. If I don't know the answer, I will point you to the direction we could. You can also reach out to us at info@simperium.com if you'd like some more information. Great. No other questions are coming in. Thank you, everyone, so much. Appreciate your time.